Everyone talks about solar paying for itself, but what does that actually mean in dollars? In this video, we're pulling back the curtain on a real commercial system that we're working on here at Paradise Energy. You'll see exactly where the costs come from, how the incentives add up, and what your true return on investment really looks like. No sales pitch, just the numbers. I'm going to walk you through an actual proposal of a large famous bakery on the Eastern Shore in Maryland who invested in solar energy with us. They invested in a 66 kW roof mount solar energy system. And I'm going to walk you through the proposal and what you need to know and pay attention to know exactly how that system pays you back, what the return on investment looks like, and what you can expect from a 30-year investment. The first thing you should notice on a proposal is that they should outline and list the hardware components. How many solar panels are they getting? How many inverters are they getting? Or optimizers if they have optimizers? And what type of manufacturer warranties come along with each of those components? In this particular proposal, this customer invested in a 66 kW roof mount system that was made up of 137 solar modules or solar panels, 4 inverters, and 137 optimizers. The modules came with a 30-year manufacturer's warranty, and the inverters and the optimizers each had a 25-year warranty from the manufacturer. When we design a system for you to invest in, our objective is to cover as much of your electricity that you're using as possible, given the amount of roof space or ground space that you have. In this particular instance, with this example, this customer only had enough roof space to cover 87% of their electricity. They're currently using about 91,000 kilowatt hours a year, and utilizing all of their roof space, we were able to generate 79,000 kilowatt hours per year, so offsetting approximately 87% of their annual electricity. The total cost for this system was $160,100. The customer received a 30% federal tax credit, which is $48,030. And then in addition to that, they're able to depreciate the system, having a tax savings from depreciation of $42,138, making the net cost of these of their solar system $69,931. I'm going to dive into a little bit about what's included in that total cost. Every solar proposal should have a clearly defined section on what's included and what's not included. In this particular project, this included a 10-year internet connection, 10 years of power production tracking, roof engineering, which we do. We have a third-party structural engineer give us a stamp of approval on any roof-mounted solar array that we do to make sure that the structure is adequate for the additional weight load. It includes all of the hardware, the solar panels, the inverters, and the racking. It includes all of the permits and the fees associated with those, as well as the interconnection to the utility and any fees associated with connecting to the utility. And it also includes all of the labor, wiring, the electrical parts, the conduit to connect it to the electrical service. In addition, it includes costs for all of your warranties, the installer warranties, which we'll get into in just a moment, as well as a reasonable profit for us to be around here to maintain and service your project in 10, 20, 30 years from now. Everything listed is included in that total cost of installation. And the total cost of installation isn't due immediately. Typically, there are payment terms, very reasonable payment terms, a small deposit when you sign the project, another payment prior to the installer ordering the components and the hardware, another payment when they come out to do the work, and then finally a payment when the system is up and running. These payment terms may vary depending on your system and the complexity of your system, what grants you may or may not have included in there. So those are the basic payment terms for most projects. So I mentioned earlier about our installer warranties. Here at Paradise Energy Solutions, we offer something called our 1010, which was included in this project. And that includes 10 years of power production tracking, 10 years of a workmanship warranty, and 10 years of a production guarantee. If your system doesn't produce, in this case, doesn't produce what we promised you it would produce, we'd write you a check for the difference. So now we've gone through exactly what's included and makes up the cost of a solar investment. But now let's look at it from a cash flow perspective over the next 30 years. This particular project, as I mentioned earlier, cost $160,000 and $160,100. We included or made the assumption that there is going to be a 3% increase in the cost of electricity going forward. Historically, we look at a 10-year look back to figure out the inflation cost for electricity. The last 10 years, inflation has been much higher than 3%. So we looked at a longer window to make it more conservative. And in this proposal, we used a 3% inflation. We do show our customers, however, if they think we are being too conservative, we show them what a 5% inflation rate would look like. And conversely, if they think we're being too aggressive, we'll show them what a 1% inflation rate would look like. And so this cash flow is made up of multiple columns. The first column shows the years 0 through 30 from the time of the investment. The next column is the production of the system. And you'll notice at the very top, this system is going to produce about 79,000 kilowatt hours a year in the first year. And it's going to decline slightly year after year. We take this into account in our cash flows. The manufacturers suggest that there'll be a 5% degradation of the solar panel production year over year. So we've included that in our cash flow. We're showing you that 5% decrease year over year of production. That may or may not be accurate. There are weather patterns that could change it. Sometimes we see better weather in year 3 than we saw in year 1. But we take a conservative approach and show you that 5% decrease year over year for production. The next column are the Maryland SRECs, or Renewable Energy Certificates. And this is income that's coming back to the customer. And that too is very difficult to project very far into the future. So we take a conservative approach, but you'll see that income declining year over year as you go through. Next are the electric savings. This is how much it's going to save the customer in the first year. You can see there in year 1, it's going to save the customer $13,500. And this is where we've increased the cost of electricity at 3% a year. If you follow that column down each year, you'll see that the cost of electricity is increasing at 3% per year. The next column is tax savings on depreciation. And keep in mind that this proposal was generated before the enactment of the One Big Beautiful Bill. So their federal depreciation in year 1 is reflecting a 40% in year 1 and the remainder over the 5-year maker's schedule. If you were to sign up today, you would get 100% bonus depreciation on the federal side in year 1. The next column is the federal tax credit. You can take this all in year 1 if you have that tax appetite. If you can't take it all in year 1, you can roll back a couple of years and if not, carry it forward. They make it really easy to make sure that you can use that. We're showing it here all in year 1. The next column is maintenance and insurance, and you can see that that is now in red. We take into account the maintenance and insurance of the system, as well as potential inverter failure over the years. We're not saying you're going to have these expenses, but we're showing you a conservative approach so you can plan for maintenance and possibly inverter replacement over the 30-year period. The next column are taxes. In the state of Maryland, there are no taxes on solar, so that's 0. And then you get your yearly cash flow. If you add up everything in year 1 and then you subtract the maintenance and insurance, you get a total of $84,000, almost $85,000 of your capital coming back in the first year. The customer spent $160,100. They received $84,900 back in year 1, giving them 53% of their capital back in the first year, which is incredible. Second year, they get 70% of their capital back. Third year, 84%. And after the fourth year, they've had 97.4% of their capital, giving this project a 4-year payback. And it has a 27.9% return on investment average over the 30-year period. You can see that solar is not a linear investment. It doesn't pay you back the same return year after year after year. You're getting the overwhelming majority of your capital back in the early years, allowing you to put more capital into other investments or back into your pocket. This is a real example of what a commercial solar investment looks like. Your situation might be slightly different. There are some variables that could increase the cost, and there are some variables that could increase your savings. But if you're ready to see how the numbers break down for your system, try our price and payback estimator. Just enter your location, your average electric bill, and equipment preferences to get an instant ballpark installation price, ROI, and savings summary. It's fast, it's free, and the best part is you can do it anytime without talking to a salesperson. You'll find it at paradiseenergy.com or through the link in the description below. Before you go, make sure to subscribe for more honest solar insights like this video, and drop a comment to let us know what you think and what you learned. Thanks for watching.